Yeah, so here we go again. Hi there, I'm Ben. This is my substitute for psychotherapy. I call it solo therapy. It's me talking to my phone, or you, depending on how you want to see it, to the interwebs, to the world. Um, Figuring out shit in my life, just because that's what one I've got to do. I just remembered I forgot to bring my notes. I have notes today. Well, we're drinking some more tea because though I am not fully recovered from having had a cold, I am enough recovered to be able to taste it so it's not wasted. Today's snacks are Spekulatius, which is German Christmassy crackers, biscuits, cookies if you're an American. And we still have these amarettis because I haven't had that many of them. I've been struggling along. I've had a rather bad cold and I still have quite bad coughs at night. So it could be better, but that's just life. Hell, that's one of the many constraints of being constrained to a human body. It's kind of a shame, but there's not much one can do about it. Can't upload yourself in the cloud quite yet. I've been fully busy in unemployment, basically. Well, first off, recovering from my cold, or bedridden for quite a few days consecutively. I did get around to talking to my sister and I asked her for a loan, which she was glad to give. So I'll have the car legal on the road again mid of this coming week. Today is 2024 1013. The time is 2:41 in the AM. It's Sunday. That was kind of a big fall in pride, asking my sister for a loan. But I mean, it's not like I can stand on my own 2 feet, so I'm lucky enough to have a mother who have given me loans I hadn't asked for in the past, and my sister who have now given me a loan I did ask for. And it's much looking like I will make next month's rent. So that's a solid one, Could be worse. We're actually having the last of this portion of Gyokuro Nakatani I have. For the moment, that is. I'll have to get some more out the freezer because that's where I keep my fancy tea, vacuumed in a freezer. I did get a really heartwarming comment on the last session from at Dobra Delta Oscar Bravo Romeo, I believe. I'm not going to look it up now, but you know who you are. Thank you very much. M Bobber Mike. Yeah, Mike Delta Oscar Bravo Romeo. Thank you very much. I'll just read that out now, and I'll make my excuses or whatever. I'll explain myself after, because I've been trying to, and we'll hear what this is about. Ben, I can see you've put a lot of thought into what's happened and what you're looking for in an ideal work environment. You're absolutely right that we can't control everything in the universe throws at us. And as someone who's neurodivergent, you're dealing with unique challenges that others might not fully grasp. Surprise. Hey, that's life. By the way, I'm autistic, in case it wasn't very clear. If you're watching this, odds are you know me or you've seen a previous one of these, so thank you very much for watching. But yeah, I am autistic, and I have had a diagnosis for now going on 4 years, so that's something. I have clarity many people do not have this early in their life. Just got to pour my tea, my servant, otherwise it's going to go to bitterness. We don't want that, do we? There we go. Milky green goodness. Well, it's not milky. Pearlescent green goodness. Your self-awareness is sharp, but it's not translating into consistent action. Sadly, I am aware of that. That was me commenting, not the actual comment I am quoting. For recognizing the effect of burnout and reflecting on past decisions is only useful if it fuels change. I understand that the sensory overload, the bureaucracy, and the endless job rejections hit harder for you than they might for others. It's exhausting, and there's no denying that the world isn't built to accommodate you. But as harsh as it sounds, you have to take on the responsibility of pushing through, even if it feels impossible. Every time you defer handling the things that stress you out, whether it's job applications, bureaucratic tasks, or social engagements, you're reinforcing that avoidance pattern and making it harder for yourself in the long run. The truth is, no one else is going to make things easier for you or reduce the mental load. And the more you wait for your energy to align with the conditions to be right, the more you'll be stuck in this limbo. Given how stressful and draining typical job search is for you, maybe it's time to rethink your approach entirely. What if you focused on identifying specific accommodations or environments where you could thrive without it costing so much of your mental and emotional energy? That way, you're not repeatedly putting yourself in situations more damaging than productive. It is brutal, but you have to stop waiting for the right conditions and just tackle things head on, even when it feels unbearable. Take on each task one agonising step at a time, without worry about perfection or the long term. You won't conquer everything at once, but by pushing yourself through each uncomfortable step, you'll start chipping away at that wall. You're already fighting with yourself to stay afloat, and I respect that. But now it's time to channel that energy into small, concrete actions. Cut out the noise, simplify your tasks, get relentless about making progress, no matter how slow. You have more control than you realise, but you have to take ownership of it. One brutally honest step at a time. About this, I think you actually got the grasp pretty well, summarised it pretty well, and I am chipping away at it. I may have been before this. I have certainly since I have read this comment. I would like to believe I was beforehand. I'm not too sure though. The thing is, with this limbo I have, it's been quite frequent in the recent past. I mean, together with having a cold, I left the house on 3 days within the past 7. So, you know. But limbo isn't always optional. That's the thing. Last Friday I was really productive, and I'm kind of proud to say, but I managed to go to a barbershop, get a haircut and get a shave. I then used the opportunity of having had a shave and a haircut, and might as well show and tell. It's video format after all, you know. There we go. To get myself some biometric passport pictures, because I'm now at the point where I'm not growing anymore, so they're going to last quite a while, hopefully. They cost €2 a pop, each one of these 10 pictures. So it's $20 just in pictures, and it's not very reasonable. It's not very reasonable of me to afford it, but in the end of the day, if I'm spending the money on a haircut and a shave, might as well, you know. And I mean, I shave myself, but I miss bits. Hell, I'm not perfect, and another person have a fresh set of 2 eyes. Odds are they're going to do a better job, especially considering they're doing it professionally. After that, I did go to the tea joint, and I started on my new lecture, new novel I'm reading. Well, it's not novel. What would you call it? The new book I am studying, which is How to Know a Person by David Brooks. There we go. I usually uncover hardcovers and put the cover separate as to not ruin it, where I do handle the books quite some. Because that's what books are for. They are meant to be read. And to be able to read them, you cannot always treat it like a princess. In fact, I think I actually overdone it last Friday, brain. To the point where I did not have any symptoms of a cold on Friday. Saturday, I didn't have all that many symptoms, but I was completely knocked out. Didn't leave bed on Saturday, and Saturday to Sunday night, so precisely 7 days ago at the time of recording, I started having this horrible cold. I'm I'm now at the point where my nose is unclogged again, so I can actually enjoy this tea. Somewhat. Yeah, so limbo is not always optional. It is an avoidance pattern, but some of that avoidance, actually, let me not misquote you. Sorry for taking a moment, it's just I don't want to misquote. Yeah, reinforcing that avoidance pattern is the precise quote. And yes, I am to some degree, but I also think it's getting closer to finding myself as a human. Because yes, of course, we all have to do things that are pleasant and things that are not so pleasant in life. It's part of being part of a society, I guess. But some things I just can't do. And sadly, in the recent past, there's been a lot of days on which I can't do anything. I just lay in bed like a deer in headlights, and I'm not able to do anything. I guess that's part of burnout, realising itself. It's kind of a bummer, but you know, it's reality. And I have wondered whether working is for me, but I don't think I can live without a job, just because I need something to do all day, so I might as well get a job, you know. In the spirit of that, I did apply for Citizens Money just a couple of hours ago. That's something. I've made myself an appointment. I made that appointment a couple of days ago. It's going to be Tuesday in 9 days. That's for a company, or I made it via a company that is supposed to help autistic and ADHD adults get jobs. Oddly enough, the person I was on the phone with and the place I'm going to is not that company. So I don't know what their situation is, but I phoned a company with that purpose, and I'm just hoping they won't waste my time and I won't waste theirs, you know. But I'm still in somewhat highish hope, at times at least, that I will manage to get a job by the beginning next month. That'd be lovely. Then again, that'd mean all the bureaucracy for getting money for this month, dole, is going to be wasted. Well, not wasted, but is only going to serve this month. Oddly enough, with the agency for employment, with saying, oh, I'm unemployed, they ask you, what would you like to do? And you can only list 3 things, which I hadn't realised in the beginning. But oddly enough, most the things I have experience in are too specific. So I just tried and do things I'd be happy to do. One of which would be accidental insurance examiner for doing checkups for legal insurance in Germany, which is required for businesses, so they're compliant, you know. And oddly enough, for that I did have quite a lot of competencies already. One of which was, for example, repairing things, which I just do because that's how I was raised, you know. That's funny how that works. On the other hand, I have had at times doubts whether I'll ever find a job. This is the dark inner talking, you know. But in the end of the day, according to Autism Europe, which was quoted by the European Parliament, it appears about less than 10% of autistic people are employed. So Beschäftigungsquote liegt unter 10%. So employment rate is under 10%, which is kind of a big bummer. A friend of mine who happens to be autistic and employed pointed out that there is dark figures, and the reason it's probably 10% that are employed of autistic people It's because if they are employed, they might never look to be autistic or get a diagnosis or get a label, which might very well be true. But the thing is, I have the label and I have felt the need for the label for as long as I have had the option of. So I guess even if there is dark figures, unknown figures, I can't really count on those because, surprise, I got the label, I got a diagnosis. So with job searching, for now I've just done that. I do still aspire to, by the end of this week, I guess, just because I have to set myself some deadlines, apply for at least one driving job, which would be with a company that put up signage for temporary no halting zones or no parking zones. I believe I'd be good at that. Surprise. To my understanding, they drive Renault Master vans, which is Sprinter size, long and high, but I can drive those, so, you know. Update on my knees, I guess. My knees still are not great. Putting on short trousers, which might have led to the cold. Can't exclude that option, to be fair. But putting on short trousers didn't help the knee aches, which means I still got knee aches at this time. They are bearable though, and they are walkable. So yeah. Later today, I plan on going film club. Excuse the noise while I get out some amaretti. There we go. Later today I'm going film club, hopefully. I plan on. That's gonna drain me. So that's the plan for today. I'm happy I've actually managed to sit down, talk to myself, because it's been overdue for about 8 days. I've been meaning to, but haven't found the energy. And this used... Let me just pause this. But this used to be a zero energy expense activity for me. And I think I've shot myself in the foot by bringing this into here, into my flat. Then again, if I can't afford the diesel and I'm not on the road, I still got to talk to myself. So here I am yet again. I did manage to also, which I'm also rather proud of, do all my bedding, as in laundered all of it, the spares that were dirty and the set that was on the bed. So I now have clean spares. And I managed to launder my towels, which, you know, it's more than I manage in a regular week. And a week ago I did manage to bring out the rubbish, but it's already due again, and I have not managed since it has been due again, which was like past couple of days, so that's something I'll hopefully do later today. You never know. Perhaps I will. With the citizens' money, Bürgergeld, they want your past 5 years of employment history, and I did my voluntary social year, but that is also, to my understanding, a social insurance necessitating job. So I ticked both boxes because I had all the social insurance, retirement insurance, and so on for that voluntary social year, and that was less than 5 years ago. So I had to upload the same references twice, which is kind of funny, but that's just the way it is, I guess. That's just how it is. So they did that. They did leave space for comments below each page, which I found very pleasant, because then I could give them this section and this section are identical, because this qualifies for both. I guess it's just German bureaucracy failing again. Be right back. There we go, I'm back. I did go shopping day before yesterday, so I figured I might as well sum it up. I spent, about €17 on milk, which was by far the biggest item. In total, I spent in total I spent $35, and then the rest major fraction was basically bread and stuff on bread, some sausage and some cheese, and that's all I got. Because I'm at the point where liquidity is tight. It's much looking like I will make next month's bills and rent. Hopefully, fingers crossed, damn good luck. I don't know precisely because I'm not up to date with my bookkeeping. I don't think I ever have been since I've lived by myself, but things just get away from you. So they have gotten away from me. Particularly with random increases of the bills by suppliers, such as my telecommunication supplier. I originally signed up for €42.90, but that was only for the first year guaranteed, and since then they've kept raising it, and I haven't even gotten letters. Don't know how legal that is, but they've done it, And I'm not going to fight it, so... Yeah, at times I was really rather concerned in dark places, and I'll undoubtedly go to those again, just because life has its ups and downs, This here is probably an up in the microscopic snippet of my life that is now. But I'll most certainly have a down again soon enough. And less than 10% of autistic adults managing to be employed, it's kind of a tough one, Like, come on. Like, there is things I am better at. I'm just built different. The problem is, I'm not good at sales. And apparently, to do anything, you have to be able to sell yourself. Not in the sex worker kind of way, but in the getting a job kind of way. And that's kind of meh, Because if I never get a job, if I don't manage to sell myself good enough to get a job, how good I'd be at the job don't matter. Hell, I could be the best person to ever do that job. If I'm not doing it, it don't matter. And that's just hard reality, I guess. And I have wondered on whether I am perhaps just meant to just be miserable and not have a job. But I don't want to accept that reality, at least not yet. I'm accepting the option of that being a reality, at least. Yeah, it's kind of tough, I think it's about time for a second serving. We'll have our drinking cup rather full, but that don't matter. Don't think it's full enough. Oh, there you go. You can just see some of this tasty goodness. Oddly enough, the Job Centre, which is a subdivision of the Agency for Labour, I'm translating all these things. They are specific German agencies and institutions. The Job Centre, which is actually called Job Centre even in Germany. I had my appointment there a couple of weeks ago before last session. And it turns out I was in the wrong department, though I didn't even make the appointment myself. Their platform had given it to me, which is just a joke, Like, you had all the parameters. You knew I was disabled, legally speaking. And yet you couldn't get me an appointment at the right department. Then again, I do understand all of these agencies are severely overworked at this time. For various reasons I don't care to get into. Or know to get into, even. It's just, meh. I have started my work on working title Falling Perspectives, WTFP, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Papa, which is going to be a collaboration between me and another member of Film Club, whom I would post-term inflation most certainly call a friend, perhaps even call a friend pre-term inflation. They'll be doing all the audio, score, sound design, whatever they like, and we'll bounce it off each other. I'm doing the visuals, which means I got more work, but they got a bigger portion of the final product in my eyes, because sound is 51% film in my book. Well, 50 plus epsilon. Doesn't have to be 51. But yeah, I'm feeling kind of guilty because I told him originally in the first place the plan was to get it to him 2 weeks ago. And I haven't. Well, 12 days, but still. But they're understanding. And they did tell me they won't need as much time just because they do audio all the time and they do audio work artistically, creatively, full time. Which I guess is a benefit of having worked a life. You get to do artsy stuff for a full-time job because you don't need a job anymore because you're getting a pension. Well, to be fair, they do need to make some money doing the artsy stuff, but they are making enough to stay afloat, so that's something, good for them. I'm really happy for them, to be fair. But that's just something I'll have to sort. And I've started my work on it. And I think it'll work out even with compute time and so on. The idea is for me to get a textureless draft, so just clay renders or outlines, to them by the end of this month at the latest. They'll then have that for a couple of days, maybe a week. Then they give it back to me with the first draft of sound. I'll finish up the visuals, give it back to them, and they finish up the sound. That way we're both inspired by the other, which is kind of hard to do because we can't work simultaneously in the same room because we don't live in the same flat. And even if we did, I'm pretty sure our workflows are different, our pipelines. Other near future. Tomorrow I got an appointment due to the loan I've gotten from my sister. I got an appointment at the car workshop. I'm getting new brakes and I'm getting a general inspection. For this I do have a slight problem, which is the car will have to stay overnight Monday to Tuesday, which means I will not have it at my disposal to get there and back. Or back here and back there. I had initially considered walking, but considering I'm still recovering from a cold, that might not be responsible. It's about 12k walk, and it's hella windy because it's big roads, even the footpaths, that is. So now I'm thinking I'll try one of these rental services where you rent by the minute or by the kilometre or whatever. The joke is I believe people in these cars usually can't drive, but I'll be in one of them cars, so that'll be a challenge. The only thing is both my place and the place the workshop's at are not within their parking zones. Which means either I pay overnight, which I can't really afford. Not even just don't want to afford, but can't afford. So more likely I'm just going to walk to the zone near me, which is about 1.5k, is not an unreasonable distance to be walking. And then walk from the zone near the workshop to the workshop. That's going to be a fun one. But considering I'm unemployed, I'll have time to do so. Just got to make sure to keep my health in mind and not stress myself out too much. Yesterday, I did go out the house to buy cigarettes. Surprise, I did return. Though all the stigmas are famous last words, I'm just going out to get some cigarettes. I am financially irresponsible in the way that not only did I get some tobacco, some rolling tobacco, which is what I really needed for my addiction to nicotine, I also got myself some cigarettes because I was there already anyways, which is money I don't really got. And much like hourly or distance-wise rentals, short-term rentals, for getting back from the workshop tomorrow night and back to the workshop day after tomorrow night. Much like those, my tobacco consumption is chipping into my food budget, basically, because that's all the budget I got. So, good news is, I do got food supplies here still. I got plenty of stuff on bread now, just because I spent half my shopping bill on stuff for bread. Well, not quite, but still. Spent more than a tenner on it. And bread. So, that's cheap eating stuff. I do still got some stuff stocked up, just because I'm a hella hoarder, you know. But the freezer is almost empty. Admittedly, I only have the tiniest freezer compartment. At this time, I have tea in it and half a packet of chips. Chips as in fries for Americans. But they are thicker. They're proper McCain's potato chips. In the fridge, I have some of the milk I bought. Some butter and other stuff on bread. And I believe that's it with the fridge. Good news is I still have loads of cans of food, so I'll just chip into those and smoke my food budget and blow it in the air by driving, that is, and or smoking it. It's kind of a concern, but my smoking have been down on the trend downward. Yesterday was kind of an exception, it went up again. But besides that, I have been on the down low. Sometimes below 10. Day before yesterday, I had 9, and the day before that I had 8. Yesterday I did have 20, but 12 of those were while driving, so guess buying a packet weren't helpful for not smoking too much. Surprise. But I'll sort that out. Eventually I'll have to quit anyways, so I might as well quit sooner rather than later, you know. I keep saying, this is the last I'm buying. Thing is, I know it's kind of a half lie to myself. It's not a full lie. I truly have the intent somewhere to stop buying tobacco or tobacco products. Excuse the noise, just getting out some Christmassy German crackers. There we go. I do believe I have the intent, but I am also lying to myself, because before I go cold turkey, I end up spending the tenner and getting tobacco, which is not only not healthy, it's also not very financially viable at this time. Yeah, I spent like 23.60. 2 packets of cigarettes and a pouch of tobacco. Just because at least while I am still smoking, I at least want to be able to enjoy it. And the crummy stuff that's in the bottom of a pouch, which I've still got a bit of there, like 10 grams or so, is really not pleasant. By the way, these aren't smoking coughs, they're just cold coughs. Don't know if that makes them better. I did consider putting a piece of paper on the wall and being able to draw, but then I decided it's too much labour, too much effort, and it's going to stop me from doing this, so I ain't done it. Though I got the markers over there and the paper over there. I'm actually surprised by how much I grow a beard these days. How quickly, I don't know, it's been a week since I was very clean shaven and I got presentable beard, I guess. Presentable beginnings of a beard. The problem with me is it grow all the way down to here, which is kind of meh, because that means I can't just grow it out without looking Australian. No offense to Australians, I like Australians, but I ain't one, and I don't want to be appropriating culture, you know. Plus, I kind of prefer being presentable, so down from here shouldn't be beard growth, but nah. It take energy, and I'm happy if I can find the energy to shower later on. After getting up, that is. You know. I've played a fair share of video games in the past 3 days. It's kind of amazing because I don't feel any need to smoke while I do so. And I don't cough remotely as much. But it also just kills time. You don't get anything done, you don't feel better after. You're enjoying yourself in the moment, which I guess can be seen positively. I'm not sure if I want to, though. But at least don't cost much energy, so I can afford to do that with my spoon budget these days. Spoon budget referring to spoon theory, where, oh, you have this many spoons per day. What shall we spend them on? Video games do not cost me any spoons to do, so they're a good way of passing time, rather than just lying in bed in a vegetative state. Then again, some days, the day just runs by, vegetating away in bed, without being able to do anything about it. Last Friday, so not day before yesterday, but a week back, though I managed to get quite some stuff done, I was stuck in bed in a kind of paralysed state, like a deer in the headlights, you know, from 8 till noon. So 4 hours just lying there, being uncomfortable, with my limbs twisted in an uncomfortable way, and not being able to move because my head won't let me. We all got to fight our own demons, eh? One thing I am meaning to follow up on, but I can't justify the energetic expense for at this time, is disability rights with uni. I mean, I'm no longer enrolled there, and I don't owe the place anything. This wouldn't be doing the place any favours. It'd be doing future people who happen to be disabled, who happen to go to that university, a favour. Which is in my own interest, because if someone had done that before I was there, I might have had fewer problems. So I am still looking to follow up on their disability compliance. Just because, I mean, it's not my job, but it is somewhat, because I was a student representative for the place for 2.5 years. And didn't get nothing done that time, but still, you know, tried my best. Sometimes intent matters, sometimes it don't. And I just feel the responsibility of finishing this, even though I'm no longer enrolled there. I do still have one appointment there, which is graduation ceremony, end of next month, so call it 6 weeks, maybe 7. My sister and mum are coming into town for that. And that's another solid one my sister done me. Besides just giving me a loan to get the car fixed and legal. Well, it's not fixed, maintained and legal. She've also taken it upon herself to book a hotel room for her and mum. So she's my totally best sister. LCM best sister. Then again, I only have one. No, but she truly is fucking great, man. Wouldn't mind having two sisters like that. But one is still better than none, you know. And I mean, to be fair, I think I'm getting the better end of the deal here. I mean, yeah, I am the way I am, and that's not going to be changeable all that easily. And it's not my fault. But I am still feeling like my sister and my mum, well, the family that remain, that is, get the short end of the stick with me. Which is kind of a shit feeling, you know. I want to be able to carry at least my own weight. I'll be right back. And I'm back. That's the amazing thing. Ever since iOS 18 update, Apple's camera app now have a video pause function, which means I can do a short break for whatever reason and return without any post-production effort. I mean, I've constrained myself to doing this series here, this format, on the phone exclusively. In the past, I've cut snippets together using the Apple iMovie app. Thing is that do take a moment to export out on the phone, and it, you know, it's kind of a pain, but like this I don't got it, so that's something. Yeah, it would feel fucking amazing at a quarter century of age being able to carry my own weight sometime, you know. And somewhere I have very little doubt I ever will have an issue carrying my own weight. But then I get the constant reminders of being alive. Not that there is any alternatives. But not having managed to sustain myself thus far. I have not a day in my life managed to sustain myself. It would be kind of nice to be able to start changing that, you know. Quarter a century of fucking age. Then again, we live in a social capitalist society, soziale Marktwirtschaft, which means my problems are also my fellow citizens' problems. The only problem is they don't always know I have the problems, which means they are not always their problems. We all have our own inner demons. Some of us more, some of us less. Interesting enough, the computer is actually slaving away at the first 1800 frames at 25 FPS. That would be 18 times 4, 40, 72 seconds of working title Falling Perspectives. First draft. And I might, in the final product, end up cutting between the first draft and the final version. Just for funsies. But I got 2/3 done in here. I still got to do it over there. Well, 1/3 I still got to do over there of those 2/3. And the third I still need to come up with completely, but I'll manage, you know. Because one thing that's amazing is if you have a cube and you look at it from in 3D space, assuming the cube is centered at the coordinates 0, square 1 over square root of 2, and for the third point minus 1 over square root of 2, you get the perfect three-dimensional diagonal of the cube. Let me see if I got a cube around here somewhere. Well, it's not a cube, but it'll do. It's not a cube, but we got the stamp. So from this corner here, the far one, all the way to the close one to you up here. So the long diagonal. And viewed from there, one cannot tell which side of the cube one is on, which is one of the perspective puns I intend on using. Because the prompt for this seasonal Challenger Film Club is perspectives, and that's enough overlap with my territory of experimental that I said I'd do something, you know. Because why not? Oddly enough, this is actually the least experimental I've been. Still fairly abstract, but it's got a humanoid shape in it, which is more than my past works, so, you know. I've got to blow my nose, I'll be right back. And I'm back. Yeah, it's amazing how much snot the human body can produce. Guess that's just the symptom of the human condition. Things we are not made for that we are capable of. Made for implies intent in some way. Do not mean to force spirituality upon anyone, just to be clear. That's a matter of opinion, and I fully recognise that, just to be clear. And your opinion might differ, and that's fine by me. You can talk about your opinion on your videos. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching me talk to myself, by the way. It truly means the world to me. It's kind of funny how that works. Yeah. About carrying my own weight and all. Something I'm still trying to figure out. But I mean, I do got a driver's license and I can drive at least acceptably well in my book. I've driven 60 grand in the 3 years I've lived in this city. So, well, in the 2.5 years I've had a car in the city, driven 60 grand, you know. Which is probably more than the median person. I'm now at the point where I can tell if someone will try to cut in front of traffic from a turning lane or so, at a light, before they are even in the lane, which I'm kind of proud of, but is also not the purest with assuming the least bad of people. With some cars, you just see the way they accelerate and the way they maintain their lane. Odds are they won't maintain their lane, and odds are they'll speed past people. But it's also not fair toward any other drivers who might not do that, who might offer similar behaviours. Because of stereotyping, you know, it's not cool. One thing I had quite a few of today is, which is also me just being in my own bubble, is senior citizens, because part of my bubble that I've grown in the recent past, or part of where my bubble have grown into in the recent past, is a subreddit called Rentner fahren in Dinge, which is retirees drive into things. And it's a kind of sad reality that a lot of 70, 80 plus year old people are still operating heavy machinery as in motor vehicles on the regular, when they are not fit to do so. I mean, I'm sure there is plenty that are fit to do so. In fact, the last neighbour I had before I moved here to the city, to the big city, they were probably over 18. They were a safe driver. They were a bit slow, but that's fine, you know. But today in the city, I actually had a few instances of senior citizens driving dangerously. So, in the right lane, no indicators, no nothing. Going walking pace, which is, at that point, assuming they have someone behind them, which they did, me and another car. According to paragraph 3, number 2 of the German rules of the road, not legal. They're a hindrance to traffic. But beyond that, they then just decide, oh, I'm just going to turn left here, while they're being overtaken by the Uber in front of me. Admittedly, I'm not here to protect Ubers. There certainly is better driving than Uber. You don't need a license to drive Uber, which is kind of a running joke between me and myself, you know. But it's kind of true. Feels like it, at least. if you're doing first gear, no gas, no accelerator pedal, you should not pull anywhere without indicating. You generally shouldn't pull anywhere without indicating. But if you're going that slowly, you're just a hazard to traffic in the first place. Get off the bloody road. And I understand it might be hard. Hell, for me now, it would be impossible to consider the option. Which is kind of saying I have double standards, but I do because I am human. So it's fair enough, you know. But I very much hope so that when the day comes where I am not fit to drive, I will recognise so and respect so. I don't know, because that day, I believe, has not come yet. I believe I still have a few decades before that day comes, hopefully. Fingers crossed, down good luck, you know. But I do really hope that when the day comes, if the day comes, I recognise it and I manage to act based on it. Just because, yeah, okay, at a late age, you might not have a long time to live, whatever, you know. It may be, if you're optimistic, a couple of decades. But even a couple of decades, or even, let's say, worst case, weeks, you wouldn't want to have to live with the knowledge of having unalived someone, you know, due to yourself misjudging yourself, whom no one else should be able to judge better than yourself. At least I believe so. And again, I do this here, and many people do not. All instances of senior citizens today who were dangerous to traffic did have passengers as well, who were also senior citizens. So perhaps one can't blame any responsibility on them, because in their generation it was accepted that women tend to not drive, or don't drive, or only drive if there really isn't any other option. Not to be sexist, but that's history. I mean, no point in denying history. It's not my fault history happened the way it did. I'm here now. Which is why I owe it to future generations to make sure university actually do their job with disability rights and compliant to those, if not reported. That's what I owe to future generations, among many other things. One thing that does give me energy, not in the way of spoons, but something similar, some similar measure, it's helping people in a way or another. Simplest way I can think of is telling someone their lights are not out, brake lights or so, tail lights. It feels like 9 out of 10 are happy to hear, and the other 1 out of 10 are split up to some people who don't even get to hear because they don't want to hear you in the first place, to are angry, to don't care, to already know. And already know don't mean don't care. Already know mean they've been told, or their car's telling them, and they're looking to get it fixed. But yeah, that's just, you know, it feels like 9 out of 10 people are happy about the news. Usually people are glad to see someone else looking out for them. But another thing in the spirit of helping, which admittedly isn't entirely altruistic, but to some degree I guess it is, because it wouldn't be paid. But I also can't justify it before I got a job, so I've got to get a job first. Is joining the, I don't know how you translate it, the THW, Tango Hotel Whiskey, which is a German governmental organisation which is close to non-governmental organisations in its form and function, for its technical assistance service, closest way I'd translate it, which is just volunteers and a few full-time employees who help out in case of catastrophes, and or if the fire brigade can't do enough, if they don't have enough equipment or so. They just help out. To my understanding, it's a quarter year of once a week training, and then you're on call. But first off, I need a job before I even consider joining them. And second off, when I consider joining them, I'll probably ring them up some Tuesday when the local club got their opening times, when there's people there, and ask if I can talk with someone, just because that's how I work, you know. Reason I'm considering that organisation, I guess is what one might call it. First off, one can get qualifications, which make it not entirely altruistic. But I certainly don't mind qualifications. Hell, those less than 10% of autistic people are employment. A lot of autistic people happen to be overqualified for whatever they end up doing or not doing, which might be part of the problem with employment, but still, you know. And a former tutor of mine for uni, who happened to also be planned as my thesis supervisor, ended up not being it for some political reasons within the uni, who knows. They also are a member of that organisation, different club, but still, you know, same organisation. And they told me, oh, I think you'd enjoy this. And I value their word very much so. And looking at what one can see from the outside, I do understand why they might think that. So I think it's worth looking into it eventually, at least. Then again, I am looking for a lot of extra curricular. It doesn't apply for work, but I don't know what you'd have. Extra laborious? I don't know. Call it extra laborious jobs. I already have film club, obviously. I am looking at Technisches Hilfswerk, Tango Hotel Whiskey. And I am looking at the Freemasons. So that's like 3 things ready, you know. Then again, Freemasons to pay my dues, and Technisches Hilfswerk to be able to justify the time spent. I would have to get a job first. Film club already got ongoing, but nah. And I haven't the energy to do that all the time these days. I end up leaving early more than I do not, you know, so it's probably unresponsible of me. Irresponsible, there we go. Language is hard. But, you know, I'll have to figure it out. I'll have to take care of business. Figure it out as I go along. Life, that is. I've been meaning to clear up my place. At this time it kind of looked like a dump. And I had vacuumed in a couple of months, so there's long hair in every single corner. There's also something I can't justify the expenditure of energy for at this time, particularly because it won't remain clean. That's the problem. I'll keep losing hair for simply having hair. One might argue I could just shave it off, but then you'd have to shave it on the regular because it keep growing. At least I am lucky enough that at my age it still do. Hell, depending on your gene pool, there is plenty of people out there younger than me who do not have the gift of capital hair. It's a blessing and a curse. But then again, with this hair, everyone can clearly tell across the world, to my understanding. There might be exceptions, but in general, everyone will be able to assume I am not part, nor was I in the recent past, part of the military, which is, I guess, part of pacifism, which is correct. I don't see the point. War is fucking ugly. There isn't winners in it. I wouldn't want to be part of it unless I were forced to. And if I'm forced to, I will have to. But forcing someone to be part of a war is a real hard one. Especially in our globalised world where people can go places. Hello, Antarctica. Waiting to be drilled for oil till 2048. And then we'll have the Antarctican oil rush. At least that means one will still be able to drive combustion engine vehicles. which is kind of short-sighted. But at this time, we don't have electric with the range. And I don't know if we ever will, particularly if you consider range and payload. Be right back, just got to blow my nose. Particularly if you do consider, I'm back by the way, particularly if you do consider range and payload. Because, I mean, the car I got, the van I got, it's a long wheelbase, admittedly. I inherited half of it, the other half I bought off my sis. Best sis on earth. My dad bought it in the first place because first off he needed a car and second off he wanted to be able to transport his motorcycles in a car, which this car can. The follow-up generation, the latest generation of these, well, not the follow-up of this one, 2 generations later, the current generation, which would be a T7 Volkswagen bus, they have 200 kilos less payload, which is 3/4 the payload only, and obviously less range before you need to charge and they have physically smaller cross section in the back, presumably because it's hella unaerodynamic with the cross section I got, which is a bloody barn door, you know. Yeah, but at my former place for internship, during my internship, a customer rocked up with one of them and asked him a bit about it, you know. And it's crazy, they only got 600 kilos payload. You can have, what, 4 fat guys like me, and you're on your limit. Maybe 5, but still, you know. You can't go any heavier than 5 of me. And one of them cars can fit 7 people if you get the people carrier version. But you can't legally fit 7 of me in and not be overweight. I don't think you can fit 7 average size male people. Perhaps if you take 50-50 or predominantly female, your odds are better. But considering I can have 3 of me on board, I can still, well, 2.5 of me. I have 3 seats, but 2.5 really, because the middle one's not usable. But if we can forget about that and squeeze 3 of me in the front, that is, 1 is necessary anyways to be the driver. But if that new one were driverless, if I went in there as a driver, I'd still be able to fit the same amount of payload in my car as fit in the new one. Like, yeah, I understand technology have its expenses and so on, but it's not fit for production. I don't think it's fit for production, you know. You understand they do feel some force from, first off, environmental aspects, which is fair enough. Can't complain about that. To go electric and so on. But at this time, with battery technology at least, it's still hella heavy. Battery technology is going to be hella heavy for a long time. Then again, it appears infrastructurally we are invested into the idea of batteries because we keep building more chargers. I mean, I got one out in front of the building these days, which I believe in the neighbourhood 1 person used. Then again, now that that's there, more people might end up getting electric cars. So, you never know, you know. It's a chicken egg problem. If you don't have any chargers, no one's going to get an electric car. But the way it is now, it's not like electric cars are allowed to park there. They're only allowed to halt there or park there while charging. Which means not even the electric car on the block can be parked there. They can only be parked there for a couple of hours while they're charging. And then they have to move their vehicle again. Which means they can't just park overnight and charge overnight, you know. It's kind of a bummer. But I'm sure we'll get that figured out as humankind. While there is still countries that have, first off, not signed the Paris Agreement or unsigned of it. But, you know, can't control what others do. So we just got to act the best we can. We, as in a peoples, a country, a continent, whatever you want, but we, a group of people, got to act to our best ability, or abilities, and outside reference shouldn't matter as much, which is something I agree with. Because at the end of the day, I keep telling people if their taillights and brake lights don't work. And I know I am in the minority with this, because anecdotally, at least, 9 out of 10 people don't know and are happy to know. Which means either I am a brake and taillight braking magnet to where they all only fail in front of my eyes, or, which is way more likely because sometimes I drive after these cars for quite a distance before I'm able to tell them, if our ways overlap, that is. People just don't bother telling others, which I think is slightly concerning, because at the end of the day, we are on the road together. We are fellow motorists, and it's kind of a shared interest to be safe on the road. Then again, enough people don't seem to care, otherwise I wouldn't be the first to tell at least 9 out of 10 people. And I believe the people that don't even let me communicate with them is the ones who don't even consider the fact that I might want to tell them their lights aren't working. But I don't know what's going on in their minds because they don't talk to me. Hell, this is one hell of a long session. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching if you still are. It truly means the world to me. I'm also very happy if you're watching and I do not know who you are. Either way, if you don't mind me knowing, I certainly appreciate if you leave any comments. I'm generally open and transparent. For the comment I read earlier, the person actually asked my blessing to post it publicly. In general, if you are willing to say something to me, to my face in DMs, assuming it is not doxing someone or so, you can say it publicly. If you are doxing someone, you might want to not say it to me, full stop. And if you are doxing someone and you think I need to know it, you have my permission to ask for an email, and I'll give you one. Or DMs if that's a YouTube thing, but I don't think it is. Ooh, I still got another load of tea to go. Looks like I'm going to have to finish that off camera, just because I feel like I'm starting to ramble and this is starting to not go nowhere, so no point in wasting your time and my time. I'm going to be here anyways, but no point in wasting your time, as you are kind enough to gift me some of it, to gift me some of your attention. I'm very appreciative of that. I hope you don't feel as if I were wasting your time, or as if you were wasting your time with me. Certainly not trying to get to that point. Hope you aren't feeling like anyone else wasting your time either, or you're wasting someone else's time. I'll see you around. Stay safe. Cheerio.